We are coming live via Facebook, via YouTube streaming and Skype. What is Buddha consciousness? Masters like Buddha, Mahavir, Nanak, Kabir, they were born in the East. Aristotle, Nietzsche, Campus, Marcel, Sartre, they were all born in the West. The birth has nothing to do with the place of birth, East or West. So too, Buddha consciousness is neither of the East nor of the West. It has nothing to do with geography or history or time. Also, it has nothing to do with mind as such. Mind can be Eastern, Western, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, German, English or African. Basically, mind is dualistic. Each mind, irrespective of its place, it remains dualistic. It always thinks in terms of division. However, that which is your innerness, harmony and crystallization, remains invisible guiding principle behind each thought, emotion and words. Your innerness, your harmony and crystallization, this synchronicity, it guides your thoughts, words, and it gives impetus to your emotions as well. This guiding principle or crystallization is the innermost pure consciousness. This guiding principle that is at the core of your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings is the innermost pure consciousness. It is simply the pure sky. You cannot identify it with anything because it is unconditioned. This is what is your inner state. East or West are two ways of conditioning. You are conditioned Western way or the Eastern way. These are certainly different ways of conditioning and are diametrically opposite to one another. So too a Hindu, a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian, a Jain, all have different ways of conditioning, but one thing is certain, they are all conditioning. Eastern conditioning, Western conditioning, or the religious conditioning. When we look into different seekers, each one has a unique, a different kind of conditioning. The Hindu, Jew, Muslim, Christian, Jain, these are the names of different types of inner disease or inner conditionings. Yesterday, two things had happened. I went to visit a customer and an African was standing right there, and I opened the door of my car and went inside. So it happened I came very close, maybe touched the Negro. They call it Negro, but in the other terminology they call it nigger. So he turned towards me and he said, "You don't like to talk to nigger." I said, to me, you are a human being first, nothing else. And I see you as human being. So he was overwhelmed with these thoughts. The normal gesture of touching his heart and his forehead, he did that. Another person, it was Eid yesterday, asked me if she can send me Eid greetings. This is all the outcome of conditionings. How can a Muslim send a greeting to the other? When someone comes to your place, you offer whatever you have in your container. Not that you ask the person that he has to bring his container to serve whatever you are preparing. So all these conditionings, they become an obstruction, and in a way they are disease that you carry within until you find the open sky, and then these things do not matter anymore. Health, for instance, is neither Eastern nor Western in its nature. Really, health belongs to the fourth dimension, the dimension of transcendence. Health is not just the removal of disease symptoms. When the disease symptoms are removed, something is born in you like a quantum leap, and that which comes to you as a quantum leap is that which comes out that way is the fourth dimension. It has nothing to do with any of these. The removal of health is not the health. However, it is a criteria. The moment disease is removed, means road is clear, you can continue your journey now. That is what the transcendence is, and there, like a quantum leap, health happens. When a child is born, immediately the process of conditioning begins, and conditioning is very subtle. Directly or indirectly, we start pressing the child into a certain mold. He will speak a certain language. He will have a certain belief system. Each language and belief system has its ways of thinking, a definite emphasis, particular direction, and the nuances that comes with it. That is why sometimes it becomes impossible to translate one language into another, because each language has its nuances, has its way of expression. So it has to be understood. There comes many times difficulty. I initially express something in one language which is understood by a certain cross-section of the people, then their request comes in to have this in the other language. For instance, a Hindi post, an English one. The thinkings, the path is different. The expression is different. When it is Sanskrit language is used, the expression is different, or Persian or Urdu, the expressions are different. It cannot be translated. the translation can be of a little bit help to you, but it is, so I had to say that the same thought, because the thought has arisen in me, I am expressing it in one language, then because of the versatility and understanding of the language, I am expressing it in another language. It is not a translation. So sometimes it becomes impossible to translate from one language to another, because no two languages will have same words. They will not give the same meaning to their words. No two languages will have words which correspond with each other. Each language has its unique way of looking at reality, circumstances and situations that life presents moment to moment. Life is infinite, but the ways you look at everything is finite. There can be infinite ways of looking at it. Those who have to learn all these ways and means, there are infinite ways of looking at it, but the language has its own limitations. These you have to learn, and this is what is called a spiritual process. Learning the infinite ways of transformation and the limitations, the physical limitations of the language. These you have to learn, and this is what the spiritual process is, and the company of the master implies. This is not enough. The child starts getting colored by the family, the school, the church, the priest, the parents, and everyone he interacts with, and it goes on silently into him. Slowly and slowly the whole sky of consciousness is closed. Only a small window and aperture is left open. A certain musculature is developed. This aperture is Indian, English, American, or German, and that opening, this is the aperture, and that opening can be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or Buddhist. That aperture can be Eastern or Western. Buddhahood is the way to regain again the consciousness that you were born with. You were born with an open sky. Buddhahood is the way to regain again the consciousness that you were born with. This is the pure, unconditioned consciousness, the original face without any masks, that innocence that you were born with, the childlike innocence, is Buddhahood. And you will recall the famous statement when Nicodemus asked, "Who can enter the kingdom of your Father?" Master, who can enter the kingdom of your Father? One who is childlike. Childlike innocence. He did not use the word childish. One who is childlike. Buddhahood is the way to regain once again the consciousness that you were born with. This is pure uncontaminated consciousness, the original face without any mask. That innocence is Buddhahood. This is inner harmony, bliss that you are born with, and in the process of upbringing it is lost. So Buddhahood cannot be Eastern, Western. Simply it is transcendental. It is transcendence, beyond the finiteness, beyond the dualities. There is no way to bring up a child without a certain nourishing surrounding. that nourishing surrounding is a must. Without it, the child cannot survive. The child has to be looked after in every way, but the child has to pay for it. It is very complex. The child has to learn continuously to adjust himself to the family, because family is right, the father is right, the mother is right. All these people are powerful and child is helpless in their presence. He has to depend on them for everything, so he has to follow them. Right or wrong is not the question. The child has to become a shadow or an imitator of the parents. All this represents a Hindu, a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, an Eastern and a Western mind. And this conditioning is very subtle. The child may never become aware of it because it is not done in one way. It goes on slowly over the long period of time. It is just like the water falling drop by drop on the rock, and the strongest rock is shattered into pieces. The child has to adjust in many ways. That adjustments makes him false, inauthentic, and untrue to his own being. Now, psychologists have discovered that if a certain child proves to be stupid, it may not be so, because no child is born stupid. It may be just the whole surroundings, the family that he had to adjust to, the conditions to which he has to live to. The family, if father is too intellectual, the child have to behave in a stupid way to keep a balance. If the child behaves in an intelligent way, the father is in a subtle way angry with him. He cannot tolerate an intelligent child. In fact, he never tolerates anybody who is trying to be more intelligent than him. This is how it happens. He will force the child to remain inferior, notwithstanding that he goes on saying that the child will learn the trip of behaving like a fool. Because when he behaves like a fool, everything goes okay, everything is perfectly okay. The father may show his displeasure on the surface, but deep down he is satisfied. He always likes fools around him. An intelligent person always likes fools around him. It is only the Buddha, awakened one, who does not like the array of fools around him. So he filters them. He wants everyone to be so intelligent. When you have someone intelligent around you, it is always a challenge. When someone asks an intelligent question, you have to explore all the possibilities of explaining. This has helped me to sharpen my wits, my understanding, and ways and means to express myself. Because of this, the intelligent person always likes fools around him. Surrounded by fools, he is most intelligent person. But if your intelligence is there and you are surrounded by intelligent people, it sharpens even further. But because of this, over hundreds of years, women have learned a trick. They never try to be intellectual. The husband won't like it. Not that they are not intelligent. They are as intelligent as men. But they have to learn. Have you not watched it? If the wife is more educated, the husband feels somewhat bad and embarrassed about it. No man wants to marry a woman who is more educated and famous than him. In a family, the child comes into a ready-made situation. Everything is already there. He has to fit himself into that framework, and he has to adjust to it. He cannot be himself. If he tries to be himself, he always gets into trouble and starts feeling guilty. If he is a rebellious, he has to go through the rigors of life. He has to adjust whatsoever the cost. Survival is the most important thing. The first thing, other things are secondary. So each child has to adjust to the family, parents, geography, history, idiosyncrasies of the people around him, all kinds of prejudices, stupid beliefs and superstitions. By the time you become aware or you become a little bit independent, you are already so much conditioned, and the conditioning has gone deep in the blood and bones and marrow that you cannot get out of it, and that's where the problem comes in. Buddhahood or Buddha consciousness is getting out of this whole conditioning, coming out of this whole rot. This is cutting the roots. You can go in the garden and watch. One thing you will be surprised about: when the new tree is planted, naturally the tree has to adjust with the other trees which are already in the existence. It has to find the ways and means. It can grow its branches only where there is a space. The tree can expand its branches only in the direction where there is nothing, there is a space. If other trees are already occupying that space, it cannot grow in that direction. It has to find ways in the existing situation. It has to adjust. Maybe it cannot grow its branches on all sides. It cannot be balanced. It can grow its branches only to the north, because there is some space there. The other three sides are already occupied. Have you not noticed this? That is why it is said that the space has to be provided between the two plants. It becomes lopsided. The growth of the tree becomes lopsided. One branch grows too much in one direction, while the other sides remain undergrown. It is lopsided. And this is on the surface. If you go deep, the same is happening with the roots. There are already roots of other trees interwoven. They have already occupied the space. Now the new tree has to find the ways. It has to avoid places that have already been occupied, find new source of water if it can. However, it cannot grow its roots as they would have grown naturally if there had been other trees around. If no other tree has been around. This is an observation when you go to the garden. But that is not possible for a child. Tree will find the ways and means to change the direction of its growth. If there is space occupied in certain direction, the branches will not grow in that direction. If you look at it, remove the topography of the earth and you see the roots, you will find the roots are scattered and there is no room. This tree has to find new directions to allow its roots to grow. The tree needs water supply for its nourishment. Tree can adjust itself. It may be lopsided, but its branches will grow in that direction where it finds a space. So is the case with the roots. But that is not possible for a child. The same happens to humanity. The child grows branches in the direction which are available. The child grows roots that become entangled with the roots of the parents, with the roots of the religion, with the roots of the conditionings. The child grows roots that become entangled with the roots of the parents, and they remain entangled if you do not prune them. It is very difficult to find a really grown-up person. People grow old, but they never grow up. Indeed, growing old and growing up are two different things. They are not synonyms. Growing old is moving towards the direction of death. It is horizontal movement. Growing up is moving towards more life, more abundant life. The direction is vertical. Great decisiveness is needed on your part. People remain entangled. A man may be 50, but he is still behaving with his wife as if he is dealing with his mother. He still expects the same from his wife as he used to expect from his mother. In that case, he is still a child, needs the motherly love. The woman may be 50 or 60, but still she is expecting from her husband the same kind of behavior as she expected, as she got from her father. This is not growing up. And because it cannot be met, the husband, it cannot be met because husband is not your father and wife is not your mother. What is the outcome? The frustration is the outcome. This is entanglement with the roots. You are still entangled. The parents may be dead, but your roots still go on moving in the same direction in which they learned to move in the childhood. The direction has not changed. Now space is available because your father is not there anymore, but you have forgotten how to grow in those spaces which have become newly available to you. Remember, space becomes available every day. Every moment a space is available to you. But you have completely forgotten about it and also the process. Or a few parts of you have died and simply disappeared. It is very difficult to find a man who is whole. Somebody's hands are too big and the brain too small. Another person's brain is too big and heart is almost non-existent. People are living only in parts. To live in parts is to live in a state of misery. To live in parts is to live in a state of misery. A Buddha is the only one who lives as a whole, as an organic whole. East and West are irrelevant to Buddha consciousness. East and West are irrelevant to Buddha consciousness. Buddhas can happen in the East without the help of the West. Why can't they happen in the West without the help of the East as well? Buddhas have happened in the West already. Just the names are different. They are not called Buddha consciousness. Instead, they are known as Christ consciousness. Both remains the same. Eckhart, Jacob Bohm, Gurdjieff were all awakened ones that have happened in the West. It is like flower blossoming. Flower blossoms both in the East and the West. They have been happening in the West as much as they have been happening in the East. Only the names differ. For the flowering of Buddha, no support of the East or West is needed. No communion too. A Buddha is not communion of the East or East and West. Instead, he is transcendence. Transcendence of all divisions, not a communion or a meeting or a synthesis of the opposite, instead going beyond the opposite. A transcendence. Buddha is pure sky that knows no boundaries. It can happen anywhere, anytime. Buddhahood, this consciousness, this awakening is beyond time and space. However, the Eastern ego feels very good, thinking that Buddhas can only happen in the East. And when Indians use the word East, they simply mean India, not the Indian subcontinent. They do not even include China, Japan, Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Pakistan, or any other place. Indian East simply means India. And if you insist in India too, where? Then it may mean South India. It may mean Northern India. If you go on insisting, you will find finally that Indian means that he himself is the person who can become the Buddha and nobody else. Deep down it is nothing but an ego game. Forget all these ego games, get out of these egoistic assertions. In time also, just as it happened in space, the same has happened again and again. India is a certain space. In times also the same happens. Now there are people who say Buddha only used to happen in the past and they cannot happen now. They are not going to happen in the future because it is the age of darkness. This is the worst time. Raman happened, Ramakrishna happened, Vivekananda happened, Osho happened, Ramchandra, the Naqshbandi Sheikh happened, many others happened. Why is this the worst time? Time is always the same. The birds sing same song as they used to sing during the time of Buddhas. Birds give the same message that they gave during the times of Buddha. The trees still blossom the same way. The rivers flow the same way. The stars move in the same way float in the sky. This is the same dance. Time cannot make anything difference. Time cannot make any difference. Why only in the past alone? Again the ego is involved. We are too attached with the past. We consider our past was golden. Our heritage, the golden heritage, we think of the past as in glorious terms, and that gave us great satisfaction. And it helps us and consoles us that we have been at the top once. Indeed, nobody has ever been at that height where we have been. It helps us to feel good. Because when we look around and the real situation is so ugly, we need some kind of dream to help us. And there are two kinds of dreams possible. Either you dream of the past, that is what religions have been doing, the dreams of the past, the times of Holy Prophet, the times of Buddha, the times of Ram and Krishna were great times. So you can have the dreams in two ways. Either you can dream of the past, and that is what religions have been doing, or you can dream of the future. That is what materialistic religions, communism, fascism and Nazism is doing. They dream of the future. They speak of the future utopia, the golden age. Old religions used to say that past were the golden age. Nobody says that right now is the golden age. When you look around, there have been so many awakened ones since Gautam the Buddha. In the recent times, there have been so many, just to name a few: Raman, Jiddu Krishnamurti, Nanak, Kabir, Guru Gobind Singh, Baijit, Bahauddin, Mujaddidi Alif Sani, Lalaji, Osho, Brij Mohan Lal, Meera, Nyandev, Muktabai, Namdev, Chaitanya, Ramakrishna, Aurobindo. These have attained a certain level of consciousness, and I would like to declare it to you right now. Now is the only golden time. Buddhas happen now, because there is no time other than here now. Now is the only time, and here is the only space. Buddhas happen here now, and here contains all the whole space, and now contains the entire time space. But they happen only when somebody takes the decision to go beyond all boundaries, when somebody risks going out of the herd psychology, when one decides not to be the part of the crowd. When you drop out of the mob, you become free and you start to live life the way you want to live it. When you accept yourself totally, when there is no self-condemnation, when you do not compare yourself with anybody else or any ideal, you do not go out, you do not do or put yourself down again and again. When you start giving your life joyously the way God wants you to live. God has not given you a birth to live somebody's life. If he had wanted Krishna, he would have created a Krishna. If he had wanted a Christ, he would have created a Christ. Why did he create you then? He created you because he wants you to attain to your fruition. God created you because he wants you to attain to your fruition. I have heard about a Hasid mystic, Joshua. He was dying. He started praying. Tears were flowing down from his eyes and he was trembling. And somebody asked, "What is the matter? Why are you trembling?" He was saying, "I am trembling for a certain reason. This is my last moment. I am dying. Soon I'll be facing my God, and I am certain he is not going to ask me, 'Joshua, why were you not Moses?' If he asks, I will say, 'Lord, you did not give me the qualities of Moses.' There will be no problem. He will not ask me, 'Why were you not a rabbi?' I will tell him, 'Sir, you never gave me the qualities of being an Akiba. That is why I am not that. But I am trembling because if he asked Joshua, 'Why were you not Joshua?' then I will have no answer to give it to him. I will have to look down in shame. That is why I am trembling. These tears are flowing. My whole life I tried to become Moses or Akiba or somebody else, and I completely forgot that he wanted me to be just Joshua and nobody else. I am trembling. I am afraid. If he asks this question, what am I going to give him the answer? Did he attain to my fruition? I will not be able to raise my eyes when he asks, 'Why were you not Joshua?' You were given all the qualities of being a Joshua. How did you miss? And I have missed in imitating the others." Such is the beautiful reply of this Hasid master, Joshua. Always remember Joshua. It is one of the most significant incidents in the life of a mystic. If you remember it, it will help you. You have to be your own self, utterly your own self. Do not imitate or follow the past. Do not follow any ideals. Consciously you have to drop that. You are living in the shadow of your father. No tree can grow when it is under the shadow of another tree. Its growth is hampered. Growth of a tree depends on the space that it creates around itself and the space that it finds. Do not follow any ideals because they are all herd psychology. Slip out of them and be a lion, lion of consciousness. Be a lion and move out of the mob, the herd psychology. Start living your life as truly as possible, because if you cannot be true to your own self, own life, how can you be true to others? And by being true to your own self alone, you will transcend all limitations, all boundaries of countries, religion, politics, dogma, East and West, and you will transcend all limitations. Certainly you will transcend all limitations of any kind. Buddha consciousness is transcendence. Buddha consciousness is transcendental. It has nothing to do with east or west or any division. Beyond all dualities, a vast open sky for you to stroll, to lay, stretch your wings and float. Buddha consciousness provides that open vast sky for you to grow. The process never comes to an end. There is a temporary pause. So until we meet again tomorrow, let this be enough for today. Until tomorrow.